Good evening, I'm Barkha Dutt and we're looking at the big story out of Maharashtra. The Sachin Vaze, Parambir Singh, Anil Deshmukh scandal gets bigger and bigger every day. Today, the BJP is talking about audio intercepts that they say will conclusively prove widespread corruption in the appointment and transfers of police officers in Maharashtra. Now, ever since Sachin Vaze, who the BJP says is literally Uddhav Thackeray's man, has been arrested, it started with the Ambani bomb scare and it ended up in an actual letter bomb written by the former Mumbai Police Commissioner Parambir Singh. The credibility of the Mumbai police has been at an all-time low. Although Super Cop Julio Ribeiro was asked whether he would set up and look at a probe into the allegations against Maharashtra Home Minister Anil Deshmukh. Mr. Ribeiro turned down that proposal. One of the most respected voices in India, a man of impeccable integrity, Julio Ribeiro, joins us now. Mr. Ribeiro, it's good to see you. Hail, hearty and strong and going strong and not mincing your words. Pleasure to be talking to you. First, tell us why you declined to head the probe into these very serious allegations against Anil Deshmukh.
The first and most obvious reason was my age. And the state of my physical well-being. I'm not.
You look fitter than I do. You look fitter than I do.
I don't think I am because I can shuffle now. That's the problem. And I know my friends. I used to walk with them till I was 90 years old, and now they can walk twice as fast as me. In this, because in between I had a fall, and so that had to go through major surgery. So these things happen. You have to take it in its stride. Yeah. Secondly, of course, is because of the very enormity of this and the mystery surrounding the reason as to why that car laden with gelatin sticks and a threatening letter was found outside, not absolutely outside, but a little away. It's obviously planted there. They didn't mean to use it, but they only meant to frighten him, frighten Mr. Ambani, which I think is very stupid on their part, very childish. And I don't know what is the motive. You have found out who has done it, but you don't know what the motive is. I would like to know because it appears to be a very childish and stupid and amateur person's work. And I think that I really don't understand that part of it.
What do you say about the integrity blow today to the Mumbai police, a force that you have been so proudly associated with, when the former police commissioner Parambir Singh plays victim? And I'm not getting into whether the allegations against Anil Deshmukh are true or not. They may well be true. I personally think Mr. Deshmukh should step down. But Parambir Singh, should he not have spoken earlier? Why was he quiet all this while?
Parambir Singh is not a person whom I would very much rely on, and what he says and what he doesn't say, because the profile, or not the profile, but what people think of an officer is usually based on what the police force works for him, the people below him, the way they speak, each one of them has so many friends and everything goes round. And there's nothing that can be hidden. If a police officer, particularly an IPS officer, feels that people don't know many things, it's wrong. I think it would be stupid to think like that. Everybody knows everything about an officer. And the public also, incidentally, is also not so foolish. Particularly now, people are very aware. And I think the reports we get are more or less authentic. Some of them may be prejudiced because of personal problem, but otherwise, normally we get a surfeit of information which comes in regularly, mainly from the subordinate ranks and also from members of the public. So you know more or less about how an officer thinks and how he behaves, and whether he looks after himself or whether he looks after the people whom he is supposed to serve. And if a officer serves the people that he is supposed to do, people come to know at once. The people know whether the man is in in their favor or in his own favor or in favor of something else. So, that is not difficult to find out. Yeah.
So are you saying that Parambir Singh was serving himself and not the people of Maharashtra
I
or
don't want,
Mumbai?
I don't want to make any allegations, but because I'm not, I don't have any concrete evidence as such. If anybody asks me to prove it, and Parambir will definitely ask me, what happened was some time ago, he he was vying for the post of police commissioner, and there was another gentleman also who was senior to him who was also was little annoyed that he was doing that, and that I think that one of them tried to trap the other, and then some third person got trapped in that in a hotel and it used to come in the newspapers every day. It was so shameful for the Indian police service that IPS officers were doing that such things. So I wrote an article in the Times of India. It was a news item and they published it. But I didn't mention any names. I didn't mention Parambir's name nor the other gentleman's name. I only said there are two such officers who are shaming the service, and neither of them should be considered for the post of police commissioner. The very next day, he sends me a notice, a legal notice, and in that he writes, "I am that officer whom you are talking about. I had not mentioned him." So at least I am entitled to say that he was the person because he told me that in his letter.
Yes.
And I
Now,
replied within 5 minutes saying, "I stand by whatever I said." Nothing happened later. Yeah.
well, it's quite clear that you said that he's not somebody you would rely on. But do you think that the Home Minister, nevertheless, must step aside, given the nature of the allegations against him? And what do you have to say about the larger presence of this extortion racket, this hafta collection that several police officers say is quite common and entrenched in the city of Mumbai?
It's quite common, but not for the political parties. The 100 crores a month means it is for a party. Look, it can't be for an individual. An individual also would know where to keep such huge amounts of money. But for a political party, I can understand, but not through the police. It was never done through that. Police officers used to pay off politicians, individual politicians, who would help them to get certain lucrative assignments. That used to happen. I've heard at least of commissioners who have got their post by payment of such money. But, to get the post of commissioner. But to pay 100 crores, I mean, that kind of money, which means pay the party to survive, that I have not heard of. You know that in Maharashtra, normally the political parties would collect the money on land deals and your builders, and that those are the people from whom the political parties would collect. They would, if they start collecting from the police, the crime would go right through the roof. I mean, what else would the police do? All would become criminals, and it is a very, very dangerous proposition. And most officers who have been appointed as commissioners were not the type who are going to help in this kind of racket. No, I don't agree.
There is another police officer who the BJP says is a whistleblower and the Shiv Sena says is a BJP agent. And this is the officer, of course, who is, said to have collected the audio intercepts as part of blowing the lid off the corruption allegations against Anil Deshmukh. I'm talking, of course, about Rashmi Shukla. How do you see her role? If you've been following this case, the BJP is today saying that she had the audio intercepts, that audio tapes have been handed over to the Union Home Secretary, and they say that she was punished for gathering evidence of this corruption. How do you see her role, Mr. Ribeiro?
No. Look, let us think of two different things. Let us talk about two different things. When I say that the political party, the politician has never made a demand for money for the party, huge amounts like 100 crores a month, that is what I was saying. I mean, I have never heard of it. But for transfers, I agree. In fact, I had heard about the monies that were being exchanged. That is, in fact, goes on quite normally till the officer comes who refuses to allow these transfers to take place. I
How,
never allowed a single such transfer. Yeah, I never.
how, how do you feel today as a member of the Indian Police Service when you look at what's unfolding in Maharashtra?
I'm very ashamed. I'm ashamed that officers many of them I know, and I feel sorry that they have been dragged into this. But there are very ambitious officers also who will go out of their way to please the politician. And that is how, this politician police officers nexus is what has caused all this whole debacle that we see today. But it is a normal for the whole system to be weakened by this nexus. When you allow that to happen, then you allow corruption to go through the roof. You allow crime to prosper. It becomes a sort of a choice of 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 service. You may say of a job. Of a job becomes a job like
Do
any
you
other.
do you do you, do you recognize the police force? Is this the police force that you wore the uniform for?
See, Barkha, the police force at the lower level is good. Let me be very clear. You can get very good job satisfaction. You can get them to work. The problem is the leadership. If you have a leader who is not a leader, then you will get this type of problem. Now we had before you had Datta Patsalgikar, you had Subodh Jaiswal. They were top class officers, and they were here for some time, and we were very happy. The people of Mumbai, very happy. The police force was happy. They would like to have such officers back again. But when they have somebody who is only bothered about his own future, about his own career, and about how he will also, I don't know what are his, I don't want to mention it, but then you have a problem. And I was really surprised that he was appointed police commissioner. I was really surprised.
You're,
I thought
you're talking about Parambir Singh.
I was absolutely surprised and shocked. In fact, I knew that he had two marathon sessions with Sharad Pawar, and I thought that would be an obstacle for him, but it didn't appear to be. I don't know why and how it happened.
But those are strong words you've used. You were surprised and shocked that Parambir Singh was even made police commissioner. Why were you surprised and shocked?
Well, as I said, people know about each officer, and the force was not very happy about it. The force may not tom it because they have to work under the person, but they know which are the officers whom they can trust, who will keep their word, who will, and the style of leadership of each person. Now,
Yeah.
if you give Sachin Vaze, who is an API, such a big uh, rope, and say that there's nobody in between my rank of commissioner and yours of an API. You can report directly to me, and
Yeah.
I am the person who gives you instructions. Well, that solves the whole. That you can understand what that means. The whole
You
hierarchy in between is ignored.
you have
Nobody.
also yes,
Ah,
you have also written about how the phenomenon of these encounter specialists, which is what Sachin Vaze was till he actually got booted out for a custodial death. That in itself is a malaise, because often these encounter cops are glorified and they're celebrated. And this man, was responsible for more than 60 encounters, and his reinstatement was in violation of a high court order. Talk a little bit about the Vaze phenomenon. Do you see him as a clear political appointee?
in this particular case, you see, we were surprised that he was reinstated because it was against all the norms of decency, of all norms of morality, even the law itself. And as you said, the High Court had made certain orders, and it appears that they didn't bother about any of these things. So what do you expect? And then I was told that the committee which sat to reinstate him, only reinstated him on that particular occasion. The committee sat just for his case, and the committee excluded the DGP, who would have definitely objected and not allowed it. The DGP was Mr. Subodh Jaiswal, and Jaiswal was decided to leave the state because he was not happy with the way it was being considered. I know that there was another, if you talk about the Home Minister, I know that he even eased out SP who was doing very well in Palghat over some case of 2 deaths, and he was not responsible for two sadhus who were killed, and it was just by chance that they happened to go through that route. And
who would you blame for his reinstatement, which you say is against all decency? Is it the state government responsible, or was Parambir Singh as police commissioner responsible, or both?
Look, this gentleman Vaze had joined the Shiv Sena, so I presume he has some affinity to them. So the Shiv Sena must have had some kind of this. So they are the people who are the senior partner in the coalition government, and so they would be for reinstating him. Then I don't know. The NCP seems to have played ball, and Mr. Parambir Singh had another encounter specialist even in Thane when he was commissioner. He had the man that similarly, Pradeep Sharma, was reinstated after 7 years and brought back and posted to Thane. Thane was where Mr. Parambir Singh was the commissioner. In 2 years, Mr. Pradeep Sharma gave in his resignation and joined politics again. He joined the Shiv Sena and contested the election and lost. So these are things that are happening. And I always think of that adage that the last refuge of the scoundrel is politics. Anyway.
Final question to you, Mr. Ribeiro. You said you're ashamed. You said you're mortified. You said everything that's happening is against the norms of decency. What do you think should happen now? Given what we know at this point, what should happen? Is this a case that is fit for the National Investigative Agency? The NIA is already looking into it. There's a murder at the heart of it. There is politics. There's corruption. There's every sordid thing that you can think of. Does anybody come out looking good, and who comes out looking the worst according to you?
Barkha, let me tell you that I have no faith now in the investigative agencies also. It's unfortunate that they do exactly what their political masters want. It didn't happen earlier. The political masters also never insisted on such things. I mean, they accepted your independence, but now it is not so. So these NIA and CBI and all these new things, they might, if it is.
So what should happen? What should happen now? What should happen?
I feel that the public has to be informed, has to be educated as to what police reforms mean. I mean, they don't mean that you should give some cars and other implements or gadgets to the police. It means that you depoliticize them. And how do you depoliticize? That other countries in the world have depoliticized the police. I remember in the UK that when the what they call the Home Secretary, that is the Home Minister, decided to issue an order recalling all police personnel back on leave because there was an emergency. The chiefs of police pulled her up and they said, "You have no business to interfere in our work." Here you can't do a thing like that. You'll get the marching orders immediately, and this is.
But people like you showed spine and courage, and I think people who still want to do that can.
Yes, there are officers. I mean, there are good. Even in Maharashtra today, there are very good officers. It's not that everybody is like this. Please don't think. I would like you to tell your viewers that that it is not so. There are really very upright, honest, competent. There are many of them. I can give the names, and they are all ignored. That is the problem. They are ignored, and
that's right. That's tragic.
Going to do their jobs. They are the ones who are chosen.
Before I close, Mr. Ribeiro, if you had to use one word to describe what's happening in Maharashtra, what would that one word be?
disgusting. Disgusting. What is happening is disgusting, and also it's going to be really a calamity is in the offing. And unless they immediately put it right, I don't know, the forces doesn't perform if there are problems like this, where the force is under great scrutiny at the moment. And if they should have taken this occasion to choose good officers. And I don't know whether they are not really interested.
Well,
They want
Mr. Ribeiro, I have to say thank you to you for not pulling your punches. There's not enough plain speak in this country today. And for those like you who are still willing to not pull your punches, we have to be grateful. Thank you so much. And I still want to say to you that you're more than young enough to lead that probe. So I wish you had. At least we would have known, we would have been in safe hands.
Well, I don't think there's, the political class finally has the last word. That you have to admit. And
Sadly.
so you have to accept
Sadly.
it. What do we do?
Sadly,
Yeah.
sadly.
Yeah.
Thank you, Julio Ribeiro. Pleasure as always talking to you. Take care and God bless you. Thank you, sir. Thank you. It's great to see you here. Thank you for watching our work. If you haven't subscribed yet, don't forget to click the bell icon and subscribe to Mojo Story and support independent, robust journalism.